Well, hello everyone. I am Gustavo Tolosa, the host for the McDougall webinars, and today we are having some technical issues with Dr. McDougall being able to log in. So I will pretend to be him, even though I'm not even close to that. And we will have our special guest, Dr. Michael Greger, that I'm sure all of you know. Who doesn't know the one and only Dr. Greger? So Dr. Greger, thank you so much for making time. You have a very busy schedule. I know that you have to leave in about 13 to 15 minutes. So let's make the most out of it. How are
I
you
got
doing
17
today?
minutes.
17
Don't
minutes.
shortchange us.
Okay. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. And indeed, you are no McDougall, but don't take it personally. Nobody is a McDougall.
No, I know. And I see that you're exercising. Tell us a little bit about your, because I've seen many of your videos and you're always, or it seems to me that you're always exercising or moving. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do and why you do it, and just tell us?
Sure. I'm always on my treadmill. And it's not, it's nice to act as a good role model for healthy lifestyles, but mostly but even when I'm not on camera, I'm on a treadmill desk. And so there's data to suggest that sitting for more than 6 hours a day has deleterious effects on morbidity and even mortality above and beyond being sedentary. So even if you're at a desk job all day and then after work go to the gym for an hour, you still suffer a decrement to your longevity because of having sit for so long. What we think is happening is the blood is pooling in your lower body, particularly because your knees are bent at a 90-degree angle, causing further kind of kinkage to the blood flow. And when your endothelium, the inner lining of your blood vessels, doesn't have this constant tugging flow of blood, they don't function as well, and that's why we think it increases one's risk of cardiovascular disease. And indeed, you can show diminished arterial function after sitting for prolonged periods. So yes, indeed, you can get up, you can take frequent breaks, you can do active sitting. There's all sorts of little wobble bars and things that you can put under your desk just to keep things moving. No need to buy any gadgets at all. Even just kind of with your ankle, hopping your knee up and down with your foot on the ground, but just that kind of fidgeting with your knees. That alone can improve artery function. They did these split person studies where they had someone bounce their knee on one leg up and down versus the other one not, and you can actually see a significant difference in arterial function. So even as simple as that, if you are stuck at a desk job, you can do that. Other people are not so lucky, truck drivers or something. They're kind of stuck and they really can't get up and move around. And so there's other things, obviously, we can do to improve artery function, like a healthy diet. But in general, that's. If you are able, I'm privileged to be able to work from home. So if you are able to have a workplace setting where you can have a treadmill desk and your poor coworkers won't get distracted by your constant thudding, then it's a great way to just kind of keep the blood moving. I'm only going about 1.8 miles an hour, so it's not really exercise. It's just preventing the adverse effects of sitting.
Yeah, well, like I've heard before, sitting is the new smoking, somebody said.
It is decidedly not the new smoking. In fact, in my new book coming out in December, I actually blow that myth up and actually compare the statistics from smoking and sitting. And indeed, I forget what it came out to, but I think it's at least 10 times worse, an order of magnitude worse, to smoke cigarettes than it is to sit. So not to say sitting is not bad for you, but more to say smoking is terribly, terribly bad.
Oh yes, I imagine that was not a close way to describe it. But so how long have you been doing this?
Well, I mean, there was a time where I wasn't exercising at all, and that's because there was so much work to do that I couldn't take away. I couldn't justify taking time away from publishing videos and writing articles and books and speaking. That I couldn't justify taking time off for exercise, but now I can actually move and get work done. It's kind of the best of both worlds. And studies have actually shown people working at treadmill desks suffer no decrement in terms of productivity, with the exception of people doing like really fine motor skills like graphic design. They have a little decrease in accuracy, but beyond that, so I can read, I can, and most of the time I'm just reading thousands of articles every day, or that's my goal. And so, look, might as well do it moving around a little bit.
Right. Very good. Well, I want to announce to people here that they can type questions for you to answer. And I don't know, this is kind of an interesting question. Does seltzer water thicken blood? What?
That I have never heard of. In fact, seltzer water may actually be beneficial. In terms of, I have a video about treating dyspepsia with carbonated water. And there's also studies done on preloading with just regular water in terms of decreasing one's caloric intake. And seltzer water might even be better because it not only, we talk about fiber and water being calorie-free components of foods. One of the reasons why whole plant foods are so calorically dilute, because the fiber and the water don't offer any calories. But we forget about air. A significant percentage of an apple is actually air. That's why they float during Halloween. A significant part of a banana. And so seltzer water actually expands about 5 times its volume based on the air it releases. So one would assume it would even expand your stomach larger, although it's never been directly put to the test in terms of decreasing caloric intake preloading with seltzer water versus normal water. But there have been studies done showing that the carbonated water can decrease dyspepsia or upset stomach. And anyone who's interested in that can check out my video.
Oh, right. Well, tell us, I will put it later on the screen, but tell us your website for anyone who doesn't know.
Sure. Anyone's interested in following my work, can go to nutritionfacts.org. Everything on the website is free. There are no ads, no corporate sponsorships, strictly non-commercial, not selling anything. Just put it up as a public service, as a labor of love, as a tribute to my grandma, actually, whose own life was saved with evidence-based nutrition.
Right. Okay. Wonderful. We will put it there because it really is, if not the best, one of the top 2 best for me resources. And thank you for doing that. I know it must take you, I don't know, hundreds of hours or thousands.
It takes all my time. That's all what I do.
All day. Someone here is asking a question. It reads like this: I read your blogs and watch your videos every day. Haven't missed one. You frightened me very badly last year with your articles on arsenic in rice. Rice used to be a large part of my diet. Now I've stopped eating it. Do you still feel the same way about rice?
So I encourage people to make up their own mind and to look at the available data as I presented. Now I look at the body of evidence. So I forget, maybe like 10 videos where I just lay it all out. So by the end of watching the 10 video series, you will know just as much about arsenic in rice as I do. Exactly how much it bumps up, risk of bladder cancer, whatever. So then, and then you make up your own mind and you say, well, okay, does this amount of increased risk justify changing my diet? And then you make up your own mind for yourself and your family. When I look at that data, I was concerned enough that I encouraged people to diversify their grains. So, some people eating like these macrobiotic diets, they live off of brown rice. Like literally, it's just rice all the time. Right. And I am concerned about the arsenic that's flowing through their bodies on a daily basis. And we encourage them to diversify. Have you ever tried quinoa? Have you ever tried millet? Have you ever tried, there's also amaranth. There's all sorts of grains. Some people haven't even tried. You might even like them better. I don't know if people have explored, people know about rolled oats, people know about steel cut oats, but before they're steel cut, they're oat groats. They actually
Right.
look like little pieces of rice. There's also rye berries, wheat berries, hulless barley, actually the full barley, not pearl barley. You cook those up, and they have a rice-like texture and the shape. So you can get all the goodness of your whole grains, your intact whole grains, without worrying about the arsenic issue. Of course, ideally, we'd be able to source some rice that's been tested. And so hopefully one day some company would be like, look, here's arsenic-free rice. And then you can go, everyone can rush back to rice, or never leave rice if you determine, based on the available evidence, that don't consider it important enough to change.
Yeah, right, exactly. Tell us, of course, in all these webinars that we do with guests, everybody wants to ask this one question, and is, what do you eat in a typical day?
Yeah. Oh, well, you don't even have to. You can find out immediately by looking at my free app that I have on iPhone and Android. In fact, I just got a McDougall email saying that there's some new Android recipe thing from McDougall. I'm very excited about that. Yes. So yeah, free app, Android, iPhone, called Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen. So basically, I tried to compile basically a checklist of all the healthiest of healthy foods and encourage people to fit into their daily routine. So I encourage people to eat whole grains every day. Encourage people to eat beans every day, legumes, beans, split peas, chickpeas, lentils, and just kind of go through the list: a quarter teaspoon of turmeric, a tablespoon of ground flax seeds, cruciferous vegetables, and the best beverages to drink, how much exercise to get, just in hopes of inspiring people to fit some of the healthiest of healthy things into one's diet. And so I actually came out with a How Not to Die cookbook. You can check it out at your local library. And where I've created a bunch of, with help of Robin Robertson, created a bunch of recipes that incorporate all the Daily Dozen foods, and find ways you can make some yummy ways to prepare them.
All right, we'll make a big announcement here. Oh, Michael, so good to talk to you.
It is so great to see you.
I'll tell you.
I miss doing the weekends.
Well, you know what? You're going to be invited back.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
I'm so sorry, but you know how technology is, and Gustavo's made his best efforts, and somehow we just got it screwed up. And you got a new computer. And I just got a new computer. Michael, good to see you.
Good to see you.
What are you doing? You doing your exercise this morning?
Well, I got my treadmill desk up and running, ready to rock.
Oh my goodness! Hey, listen, I had a few questions I wanted to ask you, and I'm sorry. I'm sure Gustavo did a good job asking some questions initially. And you could correct me on my facts here, Dr. Greger, and my friend, by the way, for many years, you started out in general medicine, but never really have seen many patients, have you?
No, it was really just my postgraduate medical training. Yeah, I was never in clinical medicine for longer than that. I went directly to as soon as I got out, I started traveling around speaking in medical schools, feeling that, how many people can I treat in a day? And so it was more important to train the trainers. And so went on the road and talked to other, budding docs in hopes that they will carry on the torch.
Well, what do you think? Are they doing it?
Well, I mean, you got to go to some of these new conferences. So there's this International Plant-Based Nutrition Healthcare Conference. I believe it's in Oakland this year. Also, the American College of Lifestyle Medicine Conference. These are massive medical conferences. 1,000, plant-based practitioners there. I mean, it's like you wouldn't have dreamed it. I mean, going to a conference and having 1,000 plant-based practitioners, not just in their own lives, but actually using this in their day-to-day practice. It's finally seeing its light of day, something that you've been pushing for decade after decade after decade, banging your head against the wall. It looks like the wall is finally cracking.
Well, it looks my head's pretty lumpy too. Actually, I will be at the October meeting.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. I would encourage people to go. You will just be amazed.
You know why, Michael? I have been honored by the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, which, by the way, we had a a lot to do with founding back in 2004. They're going to give me an honor this October, which is a Lifetime Achievement Award, and I'm sure you're in line for the next one.
No, my God, I'm just getting started. You deserve it. I cannot wait to see you up on stage.
Well, I will be there. You know, I'm honored. But yeah, these organizations really are growing. Which brings me, do you think, I don't know, Michael, you know, you've been involved in the research, nutritionfacts.org. You probably know the science and the methodology better than anybody else that I know. And you're also an old guy like me. Not quite, but you've been around a long time. And you've been through the various phases. You've been through the low carb phase. Then we were in favor with Nathan Pritikin and Dennis Burkett and Kempner and a few other people. And now we're back in the low carb phase. Can you tell me what's going on?
Isn't it amazing? Right. Not only have we lived through it, we've lived through it long enough to have it come back. You've lived through it at least 2 times, right? It was early 70s when Atkins was originally, right? So,
yeah, I was in the 70s. Yeah, he and I did some radio shows together, and yeah,
unbelievable, right? And now we are mired back. You know, it's funny. You know, when the Atkins craze was going great, when 4 million Americans were doing Atkins, I kept waiting. Someone's got to write a book. No one was doing anything, so finally I said, "Darn it! If no one else is going to do it, I did it." So I wrote my carbophobia book. Came out. And 4 months later, the Atkins went bankrupt. The whole fad crashed. I totally came too late in the wave.
Well, you know,
and so I felt like I did all that work for nothing. But now, here it is again. So it's not for nothing after all.
Well, help me, because obviously my frustration, it becomes more and more apparent to people. But, you know, I've been in this for 40 years. And, you know, maybe I ought to start on tranquilizers or something. Tell me, how did this happen? You know, in 1990, my publishers knew what was going to happen. They told me, McDougall, stop writing high carb books, start writing high protein books.
Right.
Henry Putnam did, and I said, you're crazy.
It's been called the $80 billion weight loss gimmick, and that is the rapid water loss, right? You and I know. You know, we store carbs as glycogen in our muscles, and they're complex to water. As soon as that glycogen starts getting depleted, we have that tremendous diuresis. Of course, we have to get rid of the ketones too. And so people look down at the bathroom scale. Yeah. And for the first time in their lives, they went on this new diet. 1 week, they lost 5 pounds. What? 5 pounds, right? And so, oh my God. And so then they tell everybody, they tell their friends, they tell their family, everybody goes out and gets the book. Okay. And then what happens, as obviously we know what happens. It's just water weight. They're losing. In fact, they're losing more lean mass as well. You know, now, Kevin NIH did those beautiful metabolic ward studies actually showed that, you know, ketogenic diets, these extremely high fat, low carb diets actually slow the loss of body fat. So what's happening on the scale is the opposite of what's happening inside the person. But what do you see? You just see the bathroom scale. And so by the time they figure it out, you know, they've already told everybody about it. And then of course they blame themselves and they come crawling back to it. But that seeing those pounds come off, even though it's not body fat, that's what drags people back over and over and over again.
Well, they seem to, but there's got to be more going on than that. I have to think back again. You know, you're one of my contemporaries, and I have to think that the food industry really took an active role after watching what happened to big tobacco and big alcohol. And so, you know, I think they started playing a whole new game. You know, after they had won in the 70s and low carb Atkins type diets were very powerful. Then we had the dietary goals come out at the end of the 70s, 1977. And I think big food, they looked at the government taking off after them like the Surgeon General did after tobacco in 1964. And I just have never seen such a flurry of effort and money and lobby and lying going on. It's just unbelievable. But let me get back to the frustration, because people don't understand. I think you are one of the few people who does understand my frustration, because you know the science as well as I do, if not better. And, you know, you listen to what they say, and you know what they did, and you know they're not telling the truth to the public, and you know these diets are killers. And it's not just a matter of getting constipated, which happens to 70% of the people.
Right.
We're talking about dying of heart disease and getting cancers and all kinds of things. Anyway, if you could give me some insight so that I can understand why, when the science clearly says that this kind of diet, these low-carb diets, are killer diets, and that the human being is a carbohydrate eater, why are they winning?
You know, look. If you, you know what really helped me?
Yeah, tell me.
It helped me to go back in the literature to the 1950s.
Right.
You go back to the 1950s, and there was already decades of data strongly linking lung disease, lung cancer, and smoking. Famed surgeon Michael DeBakey back in the 30s was showing this link. Okay, we had this mountain of evidence. Okay, so what was happening? The AMA, the American Medical Association, was saying that smoking on balance was good for you, not neutral, but good for you as long as it's done in moderation. Smoking cigarettes, good in moderation. The government was telling people to smoke. Famous athletes agreed. The media was telling people to smoke. It was everywhere. It was in the movies. It was on airplanes. Medical meetings were one heavy haze of smoke. Smoking was, in a word, normal. Why didn't doctors tell people to stop smoking? Most doctors themselves smoked cigarettes, right? Just like most doctors today continue to eat foods that are contributing to our epidemics of dietary disease, right?
All right, Mike, I need to interrupt. I'm sorry, but I need to have you take us to that moderate tangency. Like you just explained, the tobacco industry said, don't smoke too much. And the alcohol industry said, don't, a little bit's okay. In fact, it helps your heart. We have a whole bunch of new diets out there that take the same moderate approach. And of course, as you and I know, moderation is the license for people to go and do whatever they want to do. Now, I'm specifically referring to, and I want your expertise on this, the Mediterranean diet. Will you tell us about the Mediterranean diet and how that fits into, let's say, the extremes, you and I being at one extreme and the low carbers being at another extreme? Is the Mediterranean diet the moderation? Is that just few cigarettes, a few pieces of whatever?
So yeah, as we both know, moderation kills. Whether we're talking about diet, whether we're talking about smoking, whether we're talking about any toxic, life-ending behavior. It's like hitting yourself with a smaller hammer, right? I mean, why beat yourself up at all? There is, however, data showing that it's not black or white, it's not all or nothing. Any movement in the direction towards eating healthier can accrue significant benefits. Even if you compare, for example, in the Ventus 2 study, non-vegetarians to flexitarians, so-called semi-vegetarians, who eat meat, a few times a month, not on a daily basis, you see significant drops in risk of diabetes, significant drops of hypertension, significantly lower BMI. And so now, of course, the pesco vegetarians who eat no meat except fish do better than semi-vegetarians. The lacto-ovos do better than the pescatarians, and those who eat no animal products do better than all of them in terms of lowering these chronic disease risks. But it's not all or nothing, and so we should encourage people to move in that direction. And that's where I see the Mediterranean diet. Mediterranean diet is healthier than the standard American diet. That is an incredibly low bar, but any diet that says, eat some more vegetables, you're eating, more starches with pasta. Of course, people turn that into pouring, fettuccine sauce on it. But if you look at some traditional Mediterranean diets, if you go to, it's a lot of, it's a lot of plant foods. It's a plant heavier diet. And basically that's how you determine whether a diet is healthy or not. How many healthy plant foods does it have? You can do a percentage, like what percent of the diet is healthy plant foods? And in fact, so the American diet, it's about 11%. It's like, fruits and vegetables, and everything else is just, oils and sugar and animal products. So like on a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 1. Okay, but what's the Mediterranean diet? It's probably higher. In fact, the paleo diet, if you do surveys of people who claim to be eating the paleo diet, the one thing that separates them most from the standard American diet, you think, well, your paleo diet, they eat a lot of meat. Well, they don't actually eat significantly more meat than the standard American diet because they already eat so much meat in the standard American diet. What the one thing that sets them out most is actually they eat more vegetables. They actually, and of course that's not saying much because they don't eat a lot of vegetables in the standard American diet. But look, if that's what paleo means to you, if that's what Mediterranean means to you, you're actually sitting down to a bowl of pasta rather than a steak. Okay, then that's better. But again, when it comes to something life or death, do we want better or do we want the best possible tools for ourselves and our family for a long and healthy life? And unfortunately, I have another interview I've got to run. I'm so sorry we had technical difficulties. I'm looking forward to coming back on.
Well, we can do that, Michael, because you're such a fund of knowledge, and you're probably almost as outspoken as I am.
Oh, I one day I dream to be as outspoken.
Well, you have to lose your mind first, I hear.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So you have to become insane, or some other way to be bold enough to say it like it is, as opposed to being politically correct. I think that's what the problem is.
I'm working on it.
You and I, plain simple, Michael, have not learned how to be politically correct.
Well, you are still the master, and I'm at your feet learning.
Well, let's plan on getting together. We always spend a lot of good time. I haven't had enough time to tell folks what a great master communicator. And if you haven't tuned in to Michael Greger's nutritionfacts.org, do I have it right?
Nutrition Facts. Absolutely.
He's got it right 99.9999. Well, maybe we can talk about that 1/1000th of a percent next time. But
sounds like a plan.
I'm serious, folks. You want to find out what the facts are, and occasionally those facts differ a little bit, but you got it right on, Michael.
Fantastic. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to coming out and doing another weekend too.
And we'll have you out for another weekend.
Great. Looking forward to it.
Thank you for your time, Michael.
Keep up the wonderful work.
As long as I'm standing, I will.
All right.
Thank you very much.